Can we hurry this up?
Sections of forest.
What's going on, everyone? It's Red Racing, fighting a role-playing gaming Jackal, Goddrifter here, and welcome to the Crew Month. And for those who do not know, the Crew Month is when, for the most part, I'm dedicating the entirety of the month to the crew. And for those who are wondering, okay, what's so good about the crew? The crew is actually one of the many games that end up playing other than Need for Speed. Now, around that time, the crew in 2014 was an enigma for what it is. And basically, and before then, We didn't get a game from Need for Speed, but we ended up getting a game from Forza, as well as being the last few years for GT6. So there's that for the most part. Not to mention, around that time we had Drive Club, which was not a good replacement for Gran Turismo, and which also led to Evolution Studios shutting down. They should have stuck with, I'm not gonna lie, they should have stuck with Motorstorm, which is probably one of their better games, to say the least. Um, so this is how this usually works. I'm actually going to talk about the process of how the crew was made, as well as the car list and basically the vehicles they have added throughout the years. And not to mention, later on, actually we'll break down the story, as well as the specs of said vehicle, as well as the specs, which is gonna be the main standpoint for gameplay for the most part. And there's actually a really few good reasons why that actually will make a lot more sense. And since it actually is going to be one of those uh, retrospectives, I'm actually going to do this right here. So basically, also for those that wondering, yeah, there will be spoilers for the entire story. So if you have not beaten the crew yet, please do so, then return to the video. I kid you not. Play the game, beat the game, collect as many cards as possible, and then, if you actually have time, watch this video. So without further ado, let's get started. So the crew was actually made with a collaboration of both Ubisoft collaborations and Ivory Tower. If you was wondering, Ivory Tower was a new studio around that time, and they were actually known for I don't know if they were known for their many racing games, other than Driver San Francisco, which I think that's what they actually made. I think that's about it. Everything else is more than likely a reference of said thing. Anyway, so the crew actually took place in the entirety of the United States, and I mean every single corner of it. Like, there are famous capitals of city capitals like Los Angeles, St. Louis, Wichita, Tennessee, Dallas, Texas, Las Vegas, Nevada, Seattle, Washington, Salt Lake City, Utah. There are many, I mean many cities that you can actually go to, and it'll be going to actually going through the same exact thing. Now, before the round one, the design of the game actually is extremely grim. It was just grim. It was dark. It was actually dark. It was gritty. It was actually kind of surprising how dark the game can get. And keep in mind, this game was rated T. I kid you not. It was one of those games where it's like, oh, the game is extremely gritty, and yet gets a rated T rating. And let's talk about, yeah, it's actually pretty interesting. In terms of music, the music actually is pretty divisive for decisive for 2014. They have songs. They have some classic songs. Like, for example, they have I don't know if I count Do You Want to Know About Arctic Monkeys, but I know one song that's actually in the game, and that is Annie Up by Marshall Posse, as well as my favorite group, the Glitch Mob, with Amos Vox, and heck, did the actual intro song for the crew's UK intro known as Warrior Concerto. And not to mention they have basically around the time a legend for the most part in 2014, aka Royals by Lord. And last but certainly not least, they actually have I mentioned the music variety is actually absolutely insane. You have songs, they have some rock songs like Queen of the Stone Age, yeah, Queen of the Stone Age, Arctic Monkeys, and I think they also have Black, uh, uh, Black Glove Motorcycle. I forgot what their name is, but they done Beat the Devil's Tattoo in Need for Speed Run, so there's that for the most part. But they have actually, speaking of Need for Speed Run, one of the songs from Need for Speed Run actually came to the song. That's the song came to this game, and it actually is pretty interesting to say the least. But then again, it depends on how people actually see the game as is. So the visuals of the game is actually pretty on par with some of the vehicles, except for a few of them. Like this is actually a really good example. Like even though, like for example, even though you're driving a manual vehicle, there are some vehicles that actually came in automatic. For example, the Chevrolet Impala Spark sedan actually came with an automatic transmission. And well, so wondering what kind of automatic transmission? Well, it is the type that you will see in early mid 2000s trucks, where you have to move the lever to drive instead of basically just pressing a button to actually release the lock and then just shift it to drive. And that's usually it. So the cars are old school like that. And in terms of how many vehicles there are in general, well, there are 15 pages now, but it was originally 17 pages because of the pre-order bonus plus the season pass for said game. So what I was wondering is, to get the season pass, you get the 458 Special and the McLaren Tow C, along with the many vehicles that are available for they were available for the crew. Shoot, I keep forgetting. Alright, the vehicles that were available via crew credits. So yeah, so this is actually one of the many racing games that actually featured extra currency. So if I was wondering, that would be bucks, which is the in-game cash, and crew credits, which is the money that you get by using real life money to buy said virtual vehicle. And for the most part, the season pass actually gives you said vehicles. And I know I'm joking when I say that. So, I was wondering, that will be the 240Z, the Maserati, no, not Maserati C12, my bad. The Cadillac Eldorado, the Corvette Stingray from basically the C7 Corvette Stingray, the Mercedes AMG Black Series, the what's that called? I completely forgot what the other vehicles are. Oh, my bad, the SLR Steering Hot, I think that's what they're called. It's the older version of the SR McLaren. Speaking of McLarens, the season pass actually comes with two vehicles that are not available in the game, which is the McLaren MP4 12C, or just simply the 12C, and the Ferrari 458 Special. And for those who are wondering, it's basically a faster version of said vehicle, and it actually makes a lot more power than the other 458s. Just saying. In terms of the rest of the vehicles, for the most part, um, you got things such as the Buick S Drive, the Volkswagen Touareg, Cadillac Escalade, and there are a crap ton more. And heck, there are even like older Corvettes such as the C2 and the C3 making an appearance. I just not gonna lie, she do wish they added the C1 and the C5 in the next game. That was such a dumb move. Why didn't they add it in the freaking first place? But then again, I'm not the developer in in that perspective. But for the most part, the reason why I actually have the reason why said vehicles are added is because of how because of the times for the most part. Normally we will have vehicles that are like half of them are gonna be American, half of them Japanese, and the other half is gonna be European. But no, there's a reason why the game took place in America, and there are a lot of American cars there, such as the Chrysler SRT8, basically the Chrysler 300 SRT8, the Dodge Charger SRT8, the Dodge Viper SRT10, the Chevrolet Camaro SS, the Camaro Z28, the the 4 different Mustangs, 67 GT500, the Ford Mustang from 2011, the Ford Chevy GT500 from 2014, and the newer Ford Mustang around the time from 2015, which was the S550 model. As well as there was many trucks in the game, such as Dodge Ram SRT10, the Cadillac Escalade, the Volkswagen Touareg, the Chevrolet Silverado, and the Ford F-150 the Ford F-150 Raptor. And heck, there are even some exotics such as the Lamborghini Aventador, the aforementioned 12C and 458. Even some classics. Even some classic supercars such as the Ferrari F40 and scratch that. I will count this as a classic. The McLaren F1, and even something as interesting as the Maserati MC12. This was actually one of the many vehicles that were added during the time of 2014, and then around the time the Crew 2 came out, the vehicles that added, they actually kept adding more. So that's the Lamborghini Huracan and the Mercedes AMG GT, which is basically one of the many vehicles that actually were added the last minute before the Crew 2 actually came out. And not to mention, this actually is a true thing. In the Crew, before the Crew 2 came out, the Crew had a special event where basically all you gotta do is complete tasks and you get all the vehicles for absolutely free for the first month. And unfortunately, by the time I got the game, that mess was already over, and I had 13 out of the 15 cars because around that time I didn't have any of the DLC. I was literally playing the game as is until I ended up getting the season pass, thus giving me the Call Out Units update and giving me the giving me the Wild Run update, which actually added 3 extra specs for the most part. But don't worry, I will talk about the DLC in episode 2, so be sure to actually stay tuned for that mess. And so in terms of what the map is like, the map is extremely expansive. Like we're going from we have the city of Los Angeles in the southwest. You have Seattle, Washington, in the northwest. Uh, you have the mountain states up north. You have you have Texas in the south. You got Miami in the southeast. You got New York in the northeast, and basically in between east and west there is Oregon, and there's also St. Louis, as well as the starting point, which is Detroit. So, without any further ado, it's time for me to show you guys the story.
Hey, bro. I need a ride.
I got you. Everything all right?
Fine. Let's go. This is the guy. Stay low. Dayton?
FBI! Hands where I can see him! My brother needs help! He's... What the hell are you doing, man? Help him! He's bleeding out! Got a gun! Well, that ain't mine! This one's dead. No!
Hello, Alex. My name's Zoe. I think we can help each other. You know these guys, right? Of course you do. One killed your brother, the other framed you for his murder. Here's the deal. I want this guy. Special Agent Coburn, he's dirty. All I need is proof. And you want this guy, Dennis Jefferson, aka Shiv, leader of the 510 Motor Club.
I'm in.
You've got 8 more years in here. We can wipe that slate clean, clear your name.
I said I'm in.
Okay. You're hereby working for the Federal Bureau of Investigation.
I got nothing against being on the right side of the law.
There's a ride in the shop across town. I'll be in touch.
I'm keeping this.
Whatever gets you stoked. Motor Club. What started as an illegal street racing club has over the last 5 years developed into a sophisticated gang network with chapters in every state. Boosted cars go southwest. Contraband comes back northeast. In short, if you can fit it into a road vehicle, the 510s are smuggling it. Our two targets. FBI Special Agent Bill Coburn. We know he's fallen from grace. We just need the proof. And Dennis Jefferson, a.k.a. Shiv. Together, they've transformed the 510s. Coburn provides introductions and protection from law enforcement, while Shiv does the wet work. The 510s denote rank with tattoos. Shiv's the king, the V8. Infiltrate the 510 Motor Club. Earn your ink and climb its hierarchy. You find the evidence I need to put Coburn away, and we'll take Shiv down with him. You'll need a pledge from a chapter head to get your first 510 tattoo. Make your rep on the local circuit, get on that ladder, and don't stop until you reach Shiv.
Alright, so for those who are wondering what the heck did I just witness, well, one of your brother's associates known as Shiv just shot him in the back and framed you for his murder. Or, aka, you're Alex Taylor, the guy that literally went to prison for the murder he didn't commit. In fact, it has been 5 years since you've actually been out, and you had to start all over again with the 510s. And this is actually one of those ones where this is actually want to talk about the specs. The specs in this game are extremely simple to follow. You got the street spec, which actually just focuses on normal street racing vehicles, and thus, for example, the Class 300 that you see in the gameplay is actually doesn't have that much power, but it can actually handle extremely fine. And for those wondering, no, it's not the same street spec that you will see in the 1320 videos or any sort of channel period. It's basically just lightly tuned vehicles that are, for the most part, they're basically just tuned for street racing purposes. And basically, the one thing that actually gets you from one point to point B a lot quicker than your stock vehicle. Actually, in fact, the only thing that's different between the full stock vehicles, which is the cars you usually come with and buy, and the street racing vehicles, is the fact that the only thing it added is a few more horsepower and nitrous, as well as many customization parts. Unfortunately, said parts are not. You can also actually build the vehicle stock, and it will still be fine. But then again, that's just my personal opinion. So basically, for the most part, almost every single vehicle has a street spec, except for a few. But then again, you also start in Detroit, which also leads you to Chicago, which leads you to your former associate, and with the next spec of the vehicles.
Harry! Yo! Anyone home?
You want some of this? Come get it!
Harry, it's me. Alex.
Holy shit, Alex! I thought you was bad debt come calling.
Who owns you?
Any number. Hope they fight it out amongst themselves. Man, used to be this carried some weight. But these days... Oh no. Hell no. Not you too, damn it! I promise,
No, it's not what you think.
It's been out 5 minutes and you got one foot in the
Harry,
scraper.
shut your old ass up and listen. I'm hunting the guy that killed Dayton. I don't need your help, man. It's gonna be dangerous. It's gonna be dirty. All I'm offering is vengeance. Nothing more, nothing less.
For Dayton.
About cars and cash. High-end rides come in from Europe. Money and other merchandise goes out. The region is run by a cat named Eric Sue. Eric came up with Shiv. They've been tight since Shiv was 13. Always had each other's backs. Problem with Eric is, he's unstable. Sometimes, real unstable. Recently, car shipments have been going missing. Everything points to an inside job. Everyone knows it's Eric, but cause he's so tight with Shiv, no one dares accuse him without proof. But 510 royalty only care about getting their slice. So if Eric doesn't come up with the missing money real fast, there's gonna be an internal war. And we all know wars don't stay internal for long. More often than not, civilians get caught in the crossfire. Wanna move up the ranks? Help Eric earn back the missing money as fast as you can.
So the dirt spec vehicles are basically one of those vehicles that you normally don't understand why they add a dirt spec vehicle until you forgot that you're in New York City, or the East Coast to say the least. Even though yes, the East Coast is known to actually have a bunch of city life, but there are some other off-roading aspects of it. So things such as heading towards a certain off-roading path and Route 66 usually will lead you to actually grabbing a dirt spec vehicle and just driving around like it's full-on Mad freaking Max. And it's actually the same thing as going through a full-on dirt path without any sort of issues. Speaking of the dirt specs are actually based off of lightly modified rally cars, so there's that for the most part. It's basically like the street spec but on an off-roading occasion, and it's actually the only spec vehicle that is dirt based that you can actually customize, because otherwise it wouldn't make any sense if you actually just going for said vehicle just because how cool it looks, which trust me, a lot of people did that and they still end up losing for the most part. And heck, for those who are wondering, yeah, Subaru's in the game, so if you want to actually make a rally car out of that, it's actually going to cost you a pretty penny, but it's on the BRZ. So what was that wanted to turn a BRZ into a rally car just before the Gran Turismo, if you guys got their hands on it, then sure, why not? That's basically how that works for the most part. And due to the fact that you end up saving Dayton's wife and child, and not to mention your old mechanic from back in the day, you surely know how to actually lead people into Miami. So without further ado, let's see what Miami's about.
Try twisting to the right. Usually works for me. You used to date Shiv.
Is that what they call it?
And you even got the scars to prove it. Would you like to make him pay for those?
Not interested. I like living.
Don't you want to stop running? And keep the same address for more than 2 weeks? Go to the deli without making sure you're armed? Help me. And I'll make sure you get your life back.
Who says I want my life back?
So what do you want?
I want him dead.
Only one way to make that happen.
South is no man's land. 510s have been trying to take over for years. A lot of guys have tried, and it didn't end well for them. That's all down to this guy, Cameron Rockport. He doesn't run with any gang, but make no mistake, he rules here. And he's got a lot of muscle trying to stay on his good side. Everyone who knows Cam is afraid of him. You'll have to break that fear. If you can recruit members, take over territory, then maybe, just maybe, you can figure out a way to bring Cam down. Then you'll own the South.
She is not kidding when she said it was no man's land. Miami is one of the many aspects of vehicles. Miami is one of the aspects of cities that you would have been like, oh, it's associated with convertibles, the beach life, and a whole bunch of what other things usually happen. But then again, there's a reason they call it no man's land, because that's where the Perspec comes in. The Perspec is a lot more powerful than the street specs, or even the off-road spec in some way, shape, or form. Cars can actually be modified to be around either 900 or to 1,000 horsepower, and even if the vehicles are extremely full-on maxed out, yeah, you can actually legit max these cars out. And a lot of people race these online more than the street specs. And the reason why people don't bother going for street specs is the street specs is a lot slower than the Perspecs. Plus, Perspecs actually has supercars. And so supercars usually start off as Perspecs, and then depending on the vehicle, it can either lead to a circuit spec or the DLC before being a drift spec vehicle. But then again, like I said, I'll discuss DLC during a little bit later for the most part. But that is usually how that works for the most part. And usually said vehicles are a lot more expensive to actually go through than it actually is. So I am not surprised for that for the most part. So vehicles such as the Lamborghini the Lamborghini, the Lamborghini Superleggera, the Superleggera version of the Gallardo, the Lamborghini Huracan, the Aventador, the Ferrari F40, the Ferrari 458, the McLaren 12C, the Striker C Allurian, and there are a lot more examples that can actually be turned to Perspex. In fact, almost all the cars can be turned to Perspex. It's just a matter of how the vehicle is going to be turned to Perspex is the one thing a lot of people did not know about. So, it's actually one of those vehicles, it's one of those specs where you kind of have an understanding of what it's about, but at the same time, it can actually throw you off course. And I am not joking when I say that. But then again, that's just how it works. So after helping out with the ruler of Miami, you usually go to the Mountain States and you meet a certain someone.
Here's the deal. I'll join your crew if you help me find my missing sister. Deal. Just quit this damn music.
Hi, Alex. I'm Roxor. You can call me Roxanne. What's a girl have to do to get a ride around here?
The Mountain States can't be bought. When the 510s went national, local cops reported a surge in performance traffic. Every ride they pulled over was trafficking something. All the cash the cops seize gets spent on better equipment. They won't be bribed, and they keep getting stronger. This is killing the 510s. Every dollar the gang makes passes through this territory. Cars going south or contraband going north. It's like the road network is the 510's throat and the cops are stomping on it. Shiv can't fix this problem. But I think we can. Hackers are used to bypassing problems. I hit a roadblock, I just go around it. Forge my own route. So that's what we do. If the cops are blocking the roads, we just don't use them. If we get the money flowing through Mountain States, Shiv will make you V6, one of his inner circle. And that's where we want to be.
Unfireable cops? That sounds like the real life situation that is going on right about now. So the raid spec vehicles. So for those that do not know, raid is actually one of the many vehicles that you cannot customize at all. In fact, basically the only thing you can do is paint the vehicle, change the livery, and change wheels. That's basically about it. Everything else is performance parts only. And not to mention, the raid specs are a lot more tougher, and they usually use raid spec as a means to actually taking down something or taking down someone. So for the most part, the raid spec is actually a much, basically is the dirt spec. As dirt spec actually went to college, become a frat boy, taking hormones and steroids, and yeah, ended up becoming the Hulk in the end of it. That is what the raid spec is. So yeah, TLDR, the vehicle is just too angry to die. That's basically how that works. The vehicles themselves are usually divided by sports cars that can become race specs, trucks that become Baja buggies, and not to mention the vehicles themselves are known to actually have a lot more suspension tweaks than anything else, especially the beginning of the Crew and the Crew, and basically say the Crew games usually have the race spec as well. Now, instead of just the race spec, they're known as rally race spec vehicles. And rally race spec vehicles are usually known to use for time trials instead of full-on races. But in the Crew, it was completely different. You usually use these to actually take someone down. And I'm not joking when I say that. And yeah, it's actually one of those ones where I ended up liking many of the vehicles, so this is actually my top 3 for race specs, and that is actually kind of true. The Camaro Z28, the Roof RT35, and lastly, the vehicle you see here, the Ford SVT Raptor. Or the Ford 150 SVT Raptor, is you want me to go all American on this mess. So yeah, one vehicle having a V8, another vehicle with a V8, and one vehicle with a 5.6. So yeah, it's actually one of those vehicles that you usually go for, and it actually is depending on how people actually would go for it. Especially since, well, it's kind of true, the fact that many of the vehicles have not many vehicles actually have raid spec vehicles or raid spec variants, but and again, it depends on the person. And after you found Roxanne's sister, you ended up traveling to the West Coast, aka Los Angeles, California, and you meet this one person who is a former race driver.
Cut! Okay, people, we're rolling again in 20.
Vincent?
Look, kid, I ain't your hero, and this ain't a dream career path. Go train to be a dentist or something.
I ain't that guy. Harry recommended you.
What's the job?
Legit. Law enforcement. Undercover.
For real?
Straight up. 510s. We're going after Shiv. And it's personal. Harry said you'd understand.
Oh, I know all about personal. Okay, I'm in. Let's get out of here. I think the director's trying to kill me anyway.
Why? What's his problem?
He's an asshole. And I hooked up with his wife.
This is it, kid. West Coast. The face-off. Every 510, every chapter in the USA wants to be where you are right now. Of course, you've got your own reasons for coming here. If you want to get to Shiv, you've got to race, you got to win. Harry says you got the goods, and your 510 ink proves it. Revenge is a complex beast, kid. Doesn't care who it bites. So when you survive the face-off, and Shiv is all that stands between you and that V8 ink, you better be prepared to live with whatever choices you make.
Man, you even slept with your wife? Slept with the Sense of Darkness wife? Dear Lord. So yeah, ignoring that mess, we have finally lost spec, which is the perfect spec, which is the circuit spec. Now, for those who are wondering, the circuit spec is quite obvious is what it's based on. It's based off of straight up race cars, and said race cars are usually being converted to. So it's basically said vehicles usually converted to race cars. So this is actually a really good example. If you take an F40 and you take it to a circuit spec, it'll become an F40 LM. Same thing with the Gallardo Superleggera became the Superleggera Trofeo. Super Trofeo. Same thing with the Huracan Super Trofeo. Maserati becoming the NC12 Corsa Speciale. I think that's what it's called. The 458 Special becoming a 458 GT3. Not GT3, GT2. My mistake. The 599 turned to 599XX. Same thing with the it was another vehicle that most people will get the reference to. If you take a Silverado and go into circuit spec, you get a straight up NASCAR. I accuse you not. With the C7, get the C7R, the C6 going to C6R, and the Murcielago becoming the Murcielago RGT, which, not gonna lie, actually it's pretty cool to say the least. But yeah, the circuit spec is usually the perfect way of actually getting a lot of the top speed runs actually going down, unless you count, using a drag spec as a way to actually complete skills. But then again, like I said, that's all that matters is in the DLC. So yeah, actually it's one of those things where it's actually gonna be that sort of way. But then again, that's how you usually would do things. And yeah, it's actually one of those things. Now, after you finish racing with Vincent, you actually go to Shiv for a final confrontment.
it, Shiv.
Who are you, bro?
Alex Taylor, V6. My brother was Dayton Taylor. See faces here who know that name. Respected the man.
Alex Taylor? Dayton's kid brother.
I was there, Shiv. Ambassador Bridge. You shot him in the back. Dropped him in cold blood because he was in your way.
That's what you say. But if that's true and all, why don't you pull the trigger?
Because we're 5'10s. We settle things on the road. A V8 should know that. 5'10s! 5'10s! You wear my brother's ink, Shiv. And I want it back.
You want the V8, huh? Let's go right now.
Alright, everyone. I know that it's gonna be cut off short, but then again, you forgot on one thing early, and it's the fact that Shiv Rectory does not let me record an hour of voiceovers for the most part, meaning that I actually need to for the most part, actually do everything as much as possible without any sort of direction to go for. So, with that out of the way, I will be continuing in part 2, and part 2 is when I discuss the final part of the game. Not to mention the DLCs that actually give us the 4 extra specs. And when I say 3, I meant 4 because 4 actually add another spec, which is, well, you probably could have guessed by now with it calling a news update. But then again, that depends on if you want me to actually do said specs for the most part. And for those who are wondering why the clips are actually a lot lower volume than usual, it's because I want to avoid copyright claims as well as a copyright strike from Ubisoft. So, without any further ado, hope you guys enjoyed this video. Leave a like, subscribe, comment down below what you want to see next. You can follow me on Instagram. You can follow me on my socials, and be sure to hit the notification bell to notify all new stuff coming to the channel. So, without any further ado, this is Goddrifter to sign off, and I will see you guys next time. Oh, and also, tomorrow I'll be streaming the Crew 2, and next week I will be doing the Crew 2's video for the most part before I do part 2 of this. Well, no, after I do part 2. My bad. So that is about it. So without further ado, this is God to sign off, and I will see you guys next time. Peace. What's going on? It's your favorite racing. What's going on, everyone? It's your favorite racing, fighting, and role-playing game. Nah, that's not right. What's going on, everyone? It's your favorite joking fight. No, nah, that's not here either. Dang it.